Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of our 𝘓𝘓𝘓 podcast,
Fuck! You got me again.
where we're going to be talking about all things 𝘓𝘓𝘓. Is that not what we're doing here today?
No,
No,
not this time.
that's not what I signed up for.
Damn it!
Well,
I should have put a little fine print in the contracts.
yeah.
Um, hey, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Love Live Laugh, a new podcast dedicated to all things discussing and dissecting little anime girls dancing and singing in their little anime shows. I'm one of your hosts, Tyler, and joining me today are Will,
Hello.
Corinne,
Hello?
and Annie.
Hello.
And yeah, we're sort of just dipping our toes into this water and seeing how hot it'll be. Hopefully there's something there. Anyways, for this first episode, we watched an entire season of the first Love Live series, Love Live School Idol Project, where we met the Muse girls and sort of got to know them over the course of a season, and it went well.
As well as it could, with
Um,
with what we had on
Debatable.
offer.
yeah,
There's a lot unsaid in that delivery.
there's a lot to be said in the coming times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but I think I'll throw it over to our resident idol master himself, the person who is
Oh.
sort of the one who has seen all of the series
Mhm.
so far. Will, what do you have to say about Love Live as a whole?
Um, Love Live as a whole, considering the 2 seasons plus a movie that we have for now 2 series, and then our one season of a third. Um, it's fun. We have a good time. We've got girls with really well developed characters, real bangers of music, and I think it's done a lot to bring a lot of people together, and that's a really good thing. There are massive flaws that are pretty glaring um, in this first series, which could be seen as like the kind of prototype to what we get later on, and I'm very glad that there is nothing but steps up from what we have in this first series. But as a whole, I think Love Live as an entity, this this chthonic singing dancing routine, is a good thing, and I'm very happy for it and what it brings.
And so Will was the one that branching off of an introduction to them through a game we play, a gotcha
Yes.
game called Grand Blue Fantasy, which has had two collabs now with Love Live, one with the first season Muse and the second series Aqua. Um, that sort of led him to seeing the shows and like seeing what these brought. And my experience from that is out of context discussions with Will about the series and my own playing and experiencing of these characters through this game, but I never really had any real thoughts towards them other than they're cute.
Yeah,
I like to see the girls dance and sing and have a good time together.
exactly.
Um, but I hadn't really had much context about these characters before. I thought, oh, if I'm not giving it the benefit of the doubt, I was just like, oh, well, I'm sure the show is just girls dancing and singing. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
probably mostly just fan bait and like
Mhm.
just for the audience of the people that play the games, like the Love Live games or something like that. Um, and I was pleasantly surprised. From the get go, from the very first episode, it really hit me like this show's funny.
Yeah.
The show has
It
got
really
some
is.
really good humor to it, whether it be through slapstick or through like really well set up jokes. Of course, as with any anime centering around girls, there's a little bit of the male gaze that hits all these characters, but
Mm-hmm.
Fan service.
we we work through that, and this whole podcast idea stemmed from the fact of like, as me and Will do, we always joke about like, yeah, we really like this thing. We could start a podcast about it.
Yeah.
And then we were like, we do like Love Live. What if we took our friends and held them hostage
Yes.
and made them experience Love Live and talk about it?
We promise we fed and watered both of these girls before introducing them.
Yes. I have photosynthesized before recording.
We asked them both to like experience this show in two different ways. Will and Corinne both watched the show in chunks over a few episodes over the span of like a month or so. Was it?
About, yeah. We sped along more than I thought we would, honestly.
Yeah. And so Corinne was able to like sort of sit with like the aftermath of each episode and gather her thoughts.
Yeah, I would watch like 2 or 3 and then I would
Yeah.
stop and, then a week later I'd watch 2 more,
Mhm.
just space it out a bit.
How do you think this experience worked for you? Do you think like you got to figure out these characters a little bit more? Like got were you able to like sit with the like, oh, I watched these girls and now I can like think about it for a bit, whether those are good thoughts or bad thoughts.
Yes and no, because the important thing for me is that I think this first season is setting up for something else down the road. It's just laying down the foundation for season 2. So, in a way, like, yes, I'm able to sit down and think about some characters, but at the other hand, in a sense, it's too soon for me to have super in-depth thoughts until I get to the second season in the movie, because things
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, like this is a very preliminary season where
Yeah.
we get to know all the girls to an extent, but we don't really get to hone in on any certain characters outside of very few of the main cast. But on the other hand, we had Annie, where
Mhm.
last
Watched the
Sunday,
entire season last week.
yeah,
Oh god.
Literally last Sunday.
Yeah.
last Sunday we took Annie, and we sat her down and said, "Hey, we've got a show to show you,
Yeah.
and we're gonna watch it all together, and you're going to not really be able to think about you're not going to really be able to digest it as well, except in one full 3-course meal
Yeah.
and
Like 13-course meal. More like
13-course meal.
You have
Give
you
or
have
take 2 episodes.
1 week
Yeah.
to think about a Love Live. That you've never interacted with a Love Live in your life, and then we threw it in your face
except
and
for
said, talk about it.
except I distinctly remember though, side tangent.
Mhm.
I think it was at MegaCon, Will, you actually got like a plushie autographed.
Yes. I guess for some reference,
The future.
I did meet the English voice actress for Daya Kurosawa in Sunshine. Morgan
Okay.
Garrett is a blessing and a gift. I cherish her.
We love her.
Um, and
No biases.
no biases, but also I am biased to love her. And I did get a Daya plushie that I was able to have her sign. Side note for anyone who doesn't know, the English voice actresses cannot make any money off of the merchandise from Love Live because Japan has a chokehold on it. So
It
Mhm.
there's that.
is a
But
very stingy IP, to
it
my
really is.
knowledge.
But yeah, so the English cast can have some good things to it. But Tyler and I had a bit of a talk about sort of the dubbing, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, and I watched the dub.
Yeah.
Yeah. All three of you watched the dub of the first season. And whenever Will, Annie, and I watched it together, I also was able to like see and hear the entirety of the dub. But on my own time, whenever I was watching it in chunks as well, I actually watched the sub, which isn't the smartest thing to do when you're trying to take notes on the side and also read subtitles.
Hmm.
But it worked out. I just had to pause and go back a few times whenever I wasn't like fully digesting a scene or was like busy like typing up longer notes towards my rewatch of like the last 4 episodes of the show
Yeah.
or of the season. Um, but yeah, there is I'm not the kind of person that's going to get into the subs versus dubs argument.
Yeah.
I think both are really good. I think the English voice actors for Muse are fantastic. A lot of them are. Uh, when the show aired in 2013, and I can't really say when the dub happened. I'm
Hmm.
not entirely sure on like what the time frame from that, whether it was the same year or the year after or
Yeah.
sometime after. A lot of the main Muse girls are pretty notable voice actors
Mhm.
that have been in a bunch of different productions and are probably well known for various other roles. And obviously, this is jumping the gun a bit, but I'm pretty sure the Sunshine Girls, while good voice actresses in their own right, aren't nearly as popular to that degree.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so that no, they don't have as big like hits to them. Like again, Morgan Garrett's the one I know best, and she's done quite a few pieces, and has been getting more notoriety. I want to say, especially with being Yuko, I believe, in Nichijou, which just got a dub that like last year. And she does a phenomenal job with it. But we have a lot of other, I would say, bigger voice actresses who've had more starring roles in a lot of things. With Caitlin Glass, who we all know as Haruhi from Ouran High School. Erica Harlacher, who most recently was Morgana in League of Legends and various other things. Kira Buckland, who was 2B in Nier Automata, and a bunch of other voices in anime. Like, you have a really big, well known cast for Muse. And we have, I would say, a lesser known but equally as talented cast for Sunshine. And again, nothing against the original Japanese cast because they all do really great jobs. I have my leanings for Suzuko Mimori. I love Pyle and Yoshino Nanjo. They all do great work. And the same goes for the Sunshine cast. I haven't listened to as much of them outside of their character voices in Grand Blue, but again, I never want to get into that debate of ooh subs are better than dubs, etc. Watch what you enjoy.
Like the dub was consumed for the most part by everyone.
Mhm.
We obviously still only got to hear like the Japanese singing voices, and they're all
Right.
amazing singers. Like
Because they're not allowed to record those in
they're not
English.
allowed to record them in English,
Yeah.
but it is still a very good selection of singers and voice actresses. The
Mhm.
music in season one is great, barring maybe one or two songs that I wasn't the biggest fan of.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Muse has a lot of good hits. But yeah, that is pretty much that was the whole idea of this show was we take our friends, we make them watch this show that they have very little context of outside of maybe some minor discussions here and there in the past. And we see how the show holds up. And we're only in season one. I think the show holds up really well. As Will said, the show is good. The show
Yeah.
has a lot of good points to it, but I guess we should dig in a little bit more and talk about the season as a whole. Um, uh, Will, do you want to introduce us to our main three girls, our second years that sort of run this thing?
Yeah. We have our second year trio slash the main character group, which that is a thing at least with your idol animes, is even when you have a cast of 9 girls, a cast of 14 of these little bitches in another show that I like.
14?
Um yes. There's 14. We'll get to that one though, don't worry.
Looks
Oh
at the
Um
camera.
god.
We'll get there.
yeah. um you're still going to have your focus on your main trio kind of thing. So we've got Honoka, Umi, and Kotori, in which we've got this smart, serious, strong girl, the cool one of Umi, the outgoing and I'm here to fight on and sunshine, blah blah blah. Honoka, and our kind of yes man to both of them, Kotori.
The best friend.
The
The best
mediator
friend.
of
Yes.
sorts.
Yeah.
Which is not to say Kotori doesn't have anything to her.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
she does kind of, as she even brings up at a point, feel that it's like she's not outstanding compared to the other two. Um,
Mhm.
but Kotori is very supportive of her friends, and I think that's an important thing to have, is someone to kind of have your back in a way, which is not to say that Honoka and Umi would not support each other without Kotori,
Yeah.
but I almost would say that without her, I don't know how long that friendship slash relationship would last.
They're really good friends.
Yeah.
But I do
Mm.
agree with that. Like Umi loves Hanukkah. Hanukkah loves Umi. The two maybe butt heads the most out
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
any of the other characters that isn't played for laughs. And it's because their personalities are very different. Like you said, Umi's the very like strict. She's fun. She has her fun moments, but she understands how hard work goes into these things. And Honoka's very um the live and let live type. She's a little lazier. She likes to just sort of do things on instinct and go show the power of heart sort of deal.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then there's Kotori, and she sort of helps bring them together. She knows how to use her she knows how to use her puppy dog eyes to get Umi to do what she wants. She knows how to she sort of knows how to talk to Hanukkah to get her to get in the right mindset for these things, but they've got a very fun dynamic with each other. Um and out of all the years, the second years are of course the ones that are the most like this is a group of friends. These are a good group of three friends that have known each other for years and years and work really well together. But yeah, we meet the three of them, and then we sort of get to the main plot of the show. The school that these three girls go to,
Otonoki Zaka High.
Otonokizaka, uh, is in danger of closing down for good. There's just not enough interest in the school. They're not getting enough first years to like apply to it and wanting to come on. So the district is just shutting the school down. They're going to let the current first years graduate, of course, but in about 3 years' time, the school is going to no longer exist. And a lot of the girls are, of course, distraught at this. This is the school that they went to for all their life or for the past few years. It's where their parents went to, their grandparents went to. There's a lot of like history there. Even if we as the audience don't really get to know that history outside of what
Yeah.
the characters tell us, like they just tell us, well, there is history here because our grandparents went here and our parents went here.
Well, we
Mhm.
see like photo albums for Hanukah's mom
Yeah.
in the first episode, so we get to see a little bit of a glimpse.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, the history is implied, and it's just that type of school where, yeah, like, oh, or like multiple generations have previously gone here. Like, how could you close it? And all that.
There is I wanted to ask about this though. For Annie and Core. Annie, I know, went to an all girls high school. I believe you did also, Core?
I did, yes.
Okay. My
Mhm.
question is, and I don't know if this is just a Japan thing, but there's a massive concern that the girls bring up for a couple episodes of what if we don't have juniors? Like, it's a big deal to them of not having, like, a kohai, not having a junior sort of thing. Is that a big deal with all girls schools? Like, not having, like, a little.
Well,
Sort
I
of.
mean,
In anyway, there's a tradition.
yeah, and I want to say that's also a tradition in all boys schools too, where you have like, or we had like the big sis, little sis thing,
Yep.
and yeah, my brother at or I guess you can bleep that out. I don't know.
Note to future Tyler, bleep that out. It'll be
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, he also had like a big brother. I don't know if he had like a kohai, but yeah, that's a thing at I guess like all girls or all
Because
boys school.
I feel
Yeah.
like going to an all boys high school myself, I didn't feel that was a thing, or I never got that at least.
Like they really pushed it, and like it was all
Hmm.
part of the whole like sisterhood bonding culture of the
Hmm.
school. So I guess in that regard, it was a big deal.
Yeah, like in my high school at least, you were assigned a is assigned a senior, and it was the senior's job to show the freshmen around
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
make them feel welcome.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's like a set of activities like during the first week of school, like welcome freshman week, and like the seniors and the freshmen like do activities for each other, and honestly ends where the seniors teach the girls a dance,
Hmm.
and they perform the dance, and it just so happens that my group passed down the dance, from seniors to freshmen, like for several like graduation generations.
Nice.
To Celine Dion's "It's All Gonna Come Back to Me Now." It just kept being passed down.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yes. So we ended up just wearing leggings and thrusting the air and being dramatic.
Having a good
Yeah,
time.
see,
Yes.
we, as far as I know, didn't have that at my high school, which also was an 8th grade to senior year sort of thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, we didn't have that. We didn't have like a level of like big bro, little bro, or anything like that kind of deal. So I think that's why for me, it's like, is this really that big of a deal not having a junior kind of deal? Because they make a lot of that in this.
But yeah, like that's a very interesting perspective to get that like, okay, maybe maybe what they're focusing on here is a very Japanese thing that this show as a whole, like we're all Westerners.
Yeah.
We get
Mhm.
only the very big Western perspective for this, but it is interesting to see like, okay, well, maybe that is something that exists in certain circles as well. That
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't have any real connection to this because I went to a mixed high school and we didn't really
Mhm.
do a like underclassmen like chaperoning thing to my knowledge. Um, but it is very cool to see like, oh yeah, this is still a universal concept. Like it is important for people to like pass down what you know to others,
Mhm.
even if they are just 1 year younger than you. Like, oh hey, just guide them to being some bigger person, like better person in the future if you can like impress upon them in some way. Um, But yeah, we get that worry that the girls bring up, and then we are introduced to the cool class president, 𝘓𝘰𝘷𝘦, um, this blonde babe who is the
Yeah.
mature, cool, strict, stoic type, um, who wants to talk to Kotori about the fact of like, has she heard anything? Because her mom is the chairwoman of the school,
The
uh,
director
the
of
director
this
herself.
school.
Oh, wait, I thought the director was Kotori's mom.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh,
She
wait,
is.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Edit this
Womp.
out.
Still doesn't remember all the characters.
It's okay. We'll get it there whenever we quiz Annie about the first years. But very briefly as well, I don't think her. I think her name only comes up very briefly in this moment. We are also introduced to the vice president of the student council, Nozomi, who is Ellie's shadow slash her best friend slash sort of the angel on her shoulder,
But also the
but
devil on her
but
shoulder.
also the devil on her shoulder. Um, we get Ellie talking to Kotori's mom about trying to figure out a way to save the school, but Kotori's mom pretty much shuts that down. Like this is going to happen. There's nothing we can do. It'll take a massive like changing event for anything to possibly save the school at this point. And the three second years overhear this, and they're like, "Well, we've got to do something. We've got to figure out a way to save this school. This is our life. This is our livelihood. This is the future."
Yeah.
Um, and cut to the next day, where our main character Hanukkah, uh, um, she sort of sees a pamphlet from her younger sister about another school um, that is very prestigious.
UTX that I cannot remember the actual name of.
I don't feel like looking it up.
No, it's okay.
We're very bad at this, but
Yeah.
we'll get better in the future. Don't worry. Um, she before school that morning goes off and runs over to UTX to investigate it. Um, and from it, she sees a large crowd gathering outside, and on a very big plasma screen TV attached to the school, she sees a performance by three girls who are known as Arise, a
Yes.
young school idol group that recently won, that came in first place at Love Live, this massive competition that we'll learn about later on in the season. Hanukkah gets this idea that maybe that's how you save the school. I'm going to become a school idol, and me and my friends are going to gather interest in our school by becoming famous idols that if they see that what we're doing here, they'll of course love to join us. And so she brings that back to the other two. And Umi's like, "No, we're not doing that. That's stupid. Don't talk to me ever again."
The sole voice of reason.
She's the voice of reason, and my thing is that Umi brings up the whole point of like, okay, it's hard work to be an idol. You have practices, you have your lessons that you have to do, you've got to sing, you've got to dance, you've got to train, there's so much that goes into this, and it's not that Umi follows like idol lifestyle stuff like that. That's like three other characters in this. Um but it's understanding that this is a lot of hard work, and Honoka is extremely impulsive. And she also knows, though, that Kotori, if Honoka jumps off a bridge, Kotori is going to be halfway down there with her. Like,
Like, let's go, baby.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So she really hits the nail on the head with that of like, this is not just a fun little exercise that we get to do.
But Honoka's planted that little worm in Umi's brain now. And now Umi can't help but think, what if I did become a school idol?
Yeah,
And starts envisioning herself as the cute, having fun, dancing, singing idol girl that she secretly dreams to be. And later on, we see how hard Hanukkah is trying by herself, and by how hard I mean she's sort of twirling on the spot and falling on her ass. Uh, but it sort of strikes a chord with Umi, and Kotori brings up a very valid point of the three of them have always done stuff together since they've known each other, and Hanukkah's always sort of been the leader, the go-getter, the person who pushes them to do things that they would never think to do before, um, and has always changed their perspective even when they were very adamant against doing something. Um, and so Umi thinks on it for a second and says, "Yes, Hanukkah, we can try to do this together." And that is how these three decide, all right, we're going to become school idols. We're going to save our school. They start working at it. They push themselves. Umi gets them into a training regimen. We briefly learn that Nozumi works
Shrine Maiden,
as a shrine maiden at a local shrine.
the
Yes.
wannabe Sailor
Um,
Mars.
yes. Um, no one
It
else is
adds to a
around.
character.
Yeah,
No one else is around at the shrine except for these four characters.
yeah.
And eventually, we build up to the first show. They've worked hard. We briefly meet another character, a red-haired first-year girl named Maki, who is an amazing piano prodigy.
Bless her heart.
Bless her heart.
She
Yeah.
she comes in here with Ashtaru Banzai and like blows it out of the water just on her own.
Mhm,
Where's that solo recording? Um, thank you, Pyle.
Pyle is a gift, but Hanukkah is able to convince Maki, "Hey, we need music for our upcoming show. You're an amazing pianist, and Umi we've convinced to write lyrics. Could you look over our lyrics and make us some music?" And Maki is very against it at first. She sort of looks down on the fact that, oh well, you're becoming idols.
Pop music sucks. Maki, I'm not like other girls. Nishikino.
Exactly. um, but she comes around by the end, and she is able to write a very good piece of music for them for their first show. And so they get everything together. Kotori has designed these really nice outfits for the girls. Umi is overcoming her stage fright and fear of performing in front of others. And Hanukkah is just excited. This show is going to draw everyone to it. There's nothing that could possibly go wrong, and then it does.
Yeah.
The day of the show happens, and the curtains open. They're ready to sing, and the audience is empty.
Local idols, spirits, and dreams found dead in Miami.
You can see the exact moment Hanukkah's heart breaks into a million pieces, and she's like, "Oh, of course this would happen. I was so silly to believe that I could ever
Uh,
possibly do something like this. All that we've worked for is all for naught. And you have this like you have this heartbreaking scene of these girls like, oh, you get these like past episode or two, this episode and a half of these girls working to bring people to their school, to their performance, to show off how much work they put in, how dedicated they are to this. They've been sort of shit upon by
Yeah.
Ellie.
Quick note. I did want to say, because I just realized, Ellie's voice actress in English is Erica Lindbeck, not Harlacher. Erica Harlacher
Oops.
does show up later,
Yeah,
as one of the members of Arise, but I do love and
oh.
cherish Erica Lindbeck and Erica Harlacher. They're both phenomenal.
all the
Cool to
Yeah.
Ericas are
know.
amazing voice
Oh, they
actresses.
really are. Yeah. But yeah, just wanted to put
Erica's
that
come
in.
on our show, please.
Please.
Um,
Just want to put that
but
in before anyone yells at me for the incorrect voice actresses in the
don't worry,
comments.
we've gotten YouTube comments about this already.
Oh, absolutely.
They've already gotten mad at you, and we've already
Oh,
been canceled
geez.
on Twitter.
Yeah.
But they've been put down by Ellie, who sort of doesn't believe in what they're doing, like who sort of puts them on blast for like, what are you're doing this for the wrong reason.
Mhm.
Um, the stuff you're doing, this isn't this. There's nothing to it. It's all vapid, like idols, dancing,
Yeah.
singing, this pop stuff
Mhm.
you're trying to do. It's not going to work out. You should just
The
stop.
the other thing though that sort of rubs me the wrong way about this is Ellie is like, she brings up, okay, you all are going to try and do this idol thing. If you fail at this and people see, look at these idiot girls dancing around when they have no talent, think about how that's going to tank our school. But Kotori also says at some point, like, oh, well, this team didn't even make it through preliminaries. This team got like sixth place at this event. It's like
Yeah,
none of your clubs are stellar. So what would be the actual loss here? It would just be another whatever thing from your school.
Right. I realistically, I would think that, like, people would just look up and see these three girl dancing, and then they would just move on with their lives.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a disaster.
they hand out flyers to the school to. I think they also hand them out like outside of school too,
Hmm.
Hmm.
about coming and seeing their show, and no one shows up outside of
Yeah.
like the three girls who I lovingly named the Peanut Gallery that occasionally show up
The peanut
to
gallery.
Yeah, literally the
on
sound
the
techs
show.
of the
Yeah.
auditorium are there.
Yeah,
And that's it.
like the three NPCs that show up to like help the main cast occasionally or like cheer them on. They they're there, but no one else shows up. It's like everyone was busy. Like you couldn't get like not a single person like thought, "Oh, hey, I know these three girls from my class or
Yeah.
from my upper or lower class. Let's stop by their show. They're putting on a show. That's interesting. Like
Yeah.
if even people that I had only very rarely knew from my high school were like, "Hey, we're putting on like a little band show at
Yeah.
this time on this like festival day," I'd be like, "Sure, I'll go."
Yeah.
If it's bad, it's funny. If it's good, good for them. Like
I
that's
love
how it is.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, like
I love that mindset.
like hey, like it's at least an entertaining show to some degree. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, no one shows up. Um, and then at the last second, in runs in a character, a young, glasses wearing, short, brown haired girl,
Or Megane.
runs in and says, "Oh no, have I missed the show?" Seeing the empty audience. Um,
Everybody
and this
left already.
and this spurs Hanukkah on. She thinks like, okay, even if it's just one person, that's still
Mhm.
someone. And so she gets the other two, and they perform their first song together, "Start Dash."
It slaps.
It slaps.
It
It's a good
does.
song.
Yep, it's definitely slaps.
It's a bop.
During the song, we get shots where it shows that another girl, the glasses wearing girl's friend, shows up and watches the
Slash pet
show.
cat.
Outside, we see Nozomi leaning against the wall mysteriously, with Maki also showing up, wanting to like listen to like the final product of what she had a part in. We see a masked individual, a stranger in the audience hiding, waiting for her moment to
Pigtails.
strike. And we also see Ellie herself show up in the sound booth, sort of a scowl on her face, watching as these girls perform this amazingly choreographed song that they've put together in the span of like a week or two. But yeah, the performance goes really well, and this motivates the girls to keep working at it. And at this point, I believe they have also already gotten a name for themselves. A mysterious note left in a box of name suggestions that they had placed outside in the school.
Moose?
A the Greek letter moose.
A
No, not the
little
hair
U.
product.
Yeah.
Muse.
The Greek letter muse. And so that's the beginning of their idol group. We go forward a little bit. We get a little bit more of these other characters. We're introduced to the glasses wearing girl as Hanayo and her best friend, the short-haired, tomboyish cat girl, Rin. And they're sort of pushing her to join the idols as well, because Hanayo has always wanted to be an idol. She's shy and quiet and can barely speak above quiet as that she can maybe possibly.
What? What did she
Yeah.
say?
What?
She sort of gets laughed at because she's too quiet, and when she starts being not as quiet, she gets laughed at. It's very fun comedic bits, but she's pushed into the idol thing by both Rin and Maki, who she meets and sort of like encourages her to follow her goals and work towards this thing. And Muse accepts them with open arms. Hanayo gets Rin to also join up with her. Maki is asked and agrees a little half-heartedly to join as well. And now we've got 6 members of Muse. That's just enough for them to have a club together.
Who were then immediately cyberbullied
They're
by
immediate
a
cyberbullied
stranger.
by a
Mysterious
terrible
masked
stranger, a terrible stranger on the internet. They go to Ellie and they're like, "Hey, we've got enough members now. We can get a club, right?" And Ellie's like, "No, you
I don't
can't."
like you.
Oh.
God. That's the next season.
She says, "Hey, we already have an idol club. The what's the name of it?
Idol Research Club.
The Idol Research Club. So you can't have an idol club because we have already got one." But Nozomi, always the little devil, remarks, "But they could just go talk to the club president
They can join.
and see if
Join the
she
club.
wants to combine the clubs together." And we get a few interstitches of this mysterious fashionable woman bothering them at a fast food joint, as well as on the street and by the shrine,
Yeah.
narrowly
scene.
trying to kill Kotori and Hanako.
She kind of does kill Honoka for a good minute at the start of the episode.
She does almost kill Honoka. It is a very good moment.
By means of not just brute force, but also starvation.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, that's why I had that note.
Oh, what note did
forgot-
you got?
I had a note and I didn't remember the context for it, but I guess it was because Corey reminded me about her stealing the food, because all I have is Nico's just a dancing raccoon.
Nico is just a dancing raccoon.
She's a dancing raccoon with the coronavirus fashion sense.
Right.
And wait, like during the scene at the McDonald's, let's call it.
McDonald's.
Whack-a-Donald's. She's wearing this like pink turban-y hat with
Yes.
sunglasses indoors with a mask on. And like there's this kid off to the side like laughing like, poop head, poop head.
She's wearing poop on her head.
She's got poop on her
Pink
head.
poop head.
Sorry, this mysterious stranger has to hold it back from throwing hands with this little child
Yeah.
because she has other children to throw hands with at the moment.
I would have paid money for her to throw hands with this child.
Please.
We are introduced to her actually, where they find out that this girl, one Nico Yazawa, is the club president of the Idol Research Club, and they ask, "Hey, can we join you and like do this stuff together?" And she says no. She says absolutely not. And it takes all of one feral cat girl chasing her down.
Yeah.
And trying to they sick their feral cat girl Reen on her, and are able to sort of get an audience with the president herself, who also puts them on blast and says, "You guys don't understand what being an idol really is.
No.
Like, you guys got the singing and dancing down, but you've got no class. Like, you're just girls in cute outfits
Yeah.
dancing and singing. Being an idol is so much more than that. You've got to have a
Ni-
persona."
Nico was born in the wrong Idol anime.
She was born in the wrong idol anime. She's got the range, as we
Yeah.
discover. She lets out one of her patented Nico knees.
And so it began.
And so it begins.
So begins the
And
meme machine.
Yeah.
and she tells them, "Hey, you've got to really put in your all. You've got to have that persona. You've got to like turn it on, turn it up past 100%, because idols are more than just like performers on a stage. They're there to encourage others."
An idol's job is to make people smile.
Yeah, and they eventually get her on their side, of course.
She's overwhelmed by friendship like a final boss in a JRPG.
Yeah, she, she's she is this antagonistic force that is very quickly whittled down because Honoka's power of heart is purely too strong. And she says, "Fine, I'll give you all a trial basis. We'll see how this works." And so they sort of get Nico on their side for the time being. This chaotic devil who is uh, sort of a monster in her own right, but is mostly just played up for laughs because she just has that. She just has that about her. She's just the short upperclassman that is very proud, but everyone just loves to take down a few pegs whenever they get the chance,
And it's
intentionally or
great.
otherwise.
Every time.
And it's very funny.
Yeah.
And then we get the Ellie episodes.
We do get the Ellie episodes.
We've skipped over Nozomi for a lot, except her being in the background. We're introduced to the fact that Nozomi is a lot of things. She's a very wise character. She's very spiritual.
Yeah.
She believes in the tarot readings, and understands that there's a lot more here than just idols dancing and singing. And
Yeah.
she's trying to convince Ellie of it, but also let Ellie come to her own conclusion.
Mhm.
And we're also introduced to the fact that Nozomi is a staple character in at least the first two seasons or series of Love Live.
Yeah.
She's the titty grabber.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
harasses the other girls by sneaking up behind them and squeezing their breasts in fan servicey moments, and the girls hate it.
Yeah.
They act as if it drains the life out of them, and it does.
And for good reason, because that shit hurts.
and it does.
They straight up weaponize her at certain points, and it's absolutely awful whenever it does happen.
But we don't really get too much. We don't really get too much outside of that. Like Nozomi sort of acts as this this spiritual advisor to Ellie and this wise sister to a few of the other characters, namely Maki.
Mhm.
But we don't really get to know much about her after this, and instead we focus on the antagonistic force that is Ellie.
Miss Ayase.
Miss
Ellie
Ayase
Kika.
herself. Will, do you want to go into like Ellie's backstory? I know you had some notes about her. And
Okay.
I think I should throw it to you because you are going into this as a bit more going back to the preface of it all. We all had our little like thoughts and biases,
Yeah.
and we're probably going to talk about it more whenever we get to the rankings.
Mhm.
But I know Ellie was your favorite character.
Ellie was my
Or
number
who was your number
one
one of Muse?
idol going into this. She was the favorite girl. Which was admittedly influenced by how much of a Daya Kurosawa stan I am.
Of course.
But going into this and rewatching it, there were some certain things that kind of hit that I had thought about when I first watched School Idol Project, but going more in depth with it. Ellie's whole thing is I was in the Russian ballet. Like I practiced and trained for this and everything. And I had to do a little reading, and it's that her whole thing was I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to be on stage to dance and show off and things like that. But she didn't even get through auditions because as we know with Russian figure skating as well, it's a tough market.
Huh.
um,
We've all
if
seen
you,
Yuri on Ice.
we've all seen Yuri on Ice. I have cried over Evgenia Medvedev's performances. My anime ice skating queen. Um, so it's like she doesn't even get through that. But for some reason, this failure stuck with her from childhood to say, well, I wasn't good enough to be a performer. I wasn't good enough to do what I want to do. So instead, she for some reason puts a standard on herself of doing everything for everyone else, being what everyone else needs her to be, which is just strange to me from a writing perspective of who is putting that standard on you other than yourself? Who is reinforcing this? Because Nozomi doesn't want to seem to push her to do anything she doesn't want to do. She's just like, hey, follow your dreams, follow your heart. Her grandmother in the flashback tells her, these are just auditions. These don't matter. Like, do what you want to do. Her little sister tells her, do what you want to do.
Her sister loves idols. She thinks idols are
Exactly.
the shit, and she thinks Muse is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right. But
And
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Or I can kind of understand where Ellie's coming from though, because like
Mhm.
it was just such a monumental taste of failure that like like this is my theory. Her
Yeah.
thought process might have been like, well, if I'm not good enough to do what I want to do, then I can't do what I want to do because I'm just gonna fail anyway. So what's the point? I might as well just do what I need to do, what I have to do, because that is a surefire thing. And so that's
Right.
a very much like self-inflicted punishment in a way.
I think that's a really good point. And I think like and yes, a lot of what Ellie's perspective, like we'll say pre episode, like episode 8 and before. Before Ellie, obviously, as we're gonna get into, joins the cast, uh, as it is spoiled in both the opening and ending of the
Yeah.
show. Um, Ellie Ellie does have like this like self-punishment thing going on. Like she holds herself to a higher standard because she understands how hard the world can, from a young age. But later in the season, we get hints, like Nozomi even says, the like Ellie, there's like a weaker part of Ellie that she doesn't show others. She does hide, but we don't ever get to see any weaker Ellie outside of
She
one or
says
two
she's a
seasons.
clumsy, awkward mess at times.
Yes.
But again, it's told and not shown. Corinne, I think you had something you want to say also real quick.
Yeah, that whole segment I just felt really called out on.
Speak your
Just
mind.
speaking
Speak your truth.
just speaking from experience.
Hashtag too real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it was too real. That whole segment was too real for me. I mean, all we can really do is speculate because, like we do see, she is an older sister, so perhaps she sets up her higher standard of being a golden role model for her little sister.
Mm,
Perhaps it might be influenced by her parents. Like I speak from experience
mhm,
that I go through self-punishment and do very much of the same thing because of a parent that I still struggle with to this day.
right.
So I honestly connected with that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think like Ellie is a very interesting. I think she has a lot going on about her. She's got this depth that a few of the other characters, as of this season, don't really show.
Mhm,
The name of the game here, though, and I hate that I'll probably be repeating this later on in regards to certain characters. Um,
mhm.
there's a lot of inconsistency, though, is the
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, you could say, "Oh, well, this is a fun idol anime. Like they're not meant to like have real like in-depth character arcs and blah blah blah." But some of these characters have a lot going on behind them. Like a lot of
Yeah.
them have like little quirks that like I didn't pick up on some things until I rewatched an episode or two. And Ellie's the same way. Like I want to treat her as like, okay, I have to believe that you are a full-fledged individual. That there is a lot going on here, and there is. You've got a lot riding on your shoulders, and I think it even goes so far as you are the school council president of this entire school. The student council being her, Nozomi, and 4 other girls that we'd never see outside of like
Yeah.
one scene.
NPCs.
Yeah. But she probably feels like this is her responsibility. Like if she can't save this school, what is she good for? She couldn't get past auditions in Russia. Um, she was brought here to the school where her grandmother went, and she probably feels like there's a lot of weight there. She wants to make sure that this is a place that even her little sister, who looks up to her, but is also willing to call her out, and also looks up to other people in the school now, like that her little sister can get the chance to go here when she is like the next year when she is a first year and Ellie has graduated.
Not to mention that I feel like she doesn't want to let down the director.
The director is an entire can of worms that I don't know if we have
Oh
enough
yeah, and
time.
we will get to that.
I'm
But
gonna
I'm
square up
thinking,
with Director
Oh.
Minami.
I've got
definitely.
I've got words to say about Mommy Dearest.
Oh, we
There are
will, and
3
we will
moms
get
in this
there.
show.
But speaking from the Ellie perspective, I think, like, in a sense, like, she has a responsibility to try to keep the school open for the director. Kind of like, not exactly in a parent-daughter way, but I don't know, like a teacher kind of way. Like, you don't want to let your teacher down, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
like
Yeah.
this is someone that
Yeah.
this is like, if anything, this is probably still a role model to you. Like
Yeah.
girl boss in charge.
Yes.
Like you are the chairwoman of this entire school.
There's still a weird bit there, though, of as it's expressed, it is almost like, okay, Ellie's whole deal is like, I want to keep Otonokizaka High open. And everyone's like, well, why? And she's like, because it should, sort of thing. And it's like, that I'm working hard to do this for everyone else. And it's like, well, why do you want to keep the school open? And again, Ellie can't really answer that because she doesn't know what she wants, or she's been so used to having this kind of mental block of going after what she wants.
Mhm.
And it almost seems like a weird, like, silent wisdom that the director has about it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, so she wants to work hard to keep the school open. Does she need another reason?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the drive is there, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as she's not, like, doing something to really hurt herself, but, you know.
And that ties back though to what Ellie brings up at an early point, and I'll get to this one later, of she tells the director when Honeka's like, well, we want to start this idol club and everything like that. She says students shouldn't try they shouldn't disrupt their normal routines and lives doing extra stuff unless they really need to, kind of thing. Like, you're still a student, you have a life, like, you have homework, you have family, you have go out with your friends, kind of thing. You shouldn't cut into or change your routine just for this. And that's her big concern. Almost in a way, the opposite of herself is like, she doesn't want to see people doing things for others. Like, live your life for yourself, because I'm too busy living my life for everyone else.
Yeah.
Or like another interesting thing I just thought of, like maybe she doesn't want to see other people fail the same way that she did. And
Yeah.
that's why
Probably.
she keeps bringing up like, oh, well, what if you fail? It's gonna look bad. Like, don't do it.
She's trying to warn them, like, turn back now.
hmm
Mhm.
I think she does, but the way she goes about it is very negative, and I can't really
Mhm.
speak. And we're not we keep referencing series 2. We keep referencing Sunshine.
What's a sunshine?
I've never seen the sun in my life. I live
What's a
underground.
star in space?
But a similar beat that I know of happens in series 2 that we'll get to. But
Yes.
Mhm.
I think but while there, it's more of a I know what this takes, and I'm warning you off because this is dangerous ground you're treading upon.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
Ellie's take is that what you're doing isn't like up to snuff. Like you are not true performers.
Right.
You are not like
There
people that deserve that spotlight as much as
there's
like I
a
did.
gaping hole, I feel, in the writing there, because what I specifically said was, as someone who as I mentioned earlier, I've been brought to tears watching ice skating. Like, it is a beautiful performance that some of these people and the artists in their own way can put out. That does not mean that Broadway can't be beautiful. That doesn't mean that hip hop can't be beautiful. There are all kinds of performances that can bring people to their own emotional takes.
All
Mhm.
forms of art are amazing, unless it's
Exactly.
like crypto art, in which case, get the fuck out of here.
Or modern art.
Or modern art. That's it.
Yeah. But that's the whole point. Is like Ellie for some reason like okay, I hold up that ballet, I guess, is the most beautiful form of art, and none of you are up to snuff. None of you are anywhere near the level that I was at. But also, you didn't make it. You didn't make it through auditions, girl. I get if you are here to teach like the stamina and the like precision that would come with ballet to these girls, but
Uh-huh.
you don't have that right to say that your art is better than another. And we have a lesser version of that with Maki at the start, where she's like, pop music and idols are all just fluff. And then she sees that there is more to it.
Right.
And Ellie just doesn't recognize or realize or want to recognize that, I guess,
Mhm.
until a little later when she just gets thrust into it, kind of thing.
Well, she's self-projecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we get these moments. We get Ellie's like somewhat of a minor backstory, and we get her motivations behind sort of being this antagonistic force to these girls. And it takes Hanukkah asking her. Well, it takes a confrontation with Umi first, and then later on a minor confrontation between her and Hanukkah, asking her, "Hey, you were a ballet dancer. You probably know so much about like the finesse of dancing that we do not understand in our choreography. Teach us. Show us what it takes. Like, let us step into your world for a second. Like Hanukkah extends the olive branch. Let us step into your world and let you teach us how to do what you did." And she gives them a little bit of lessons, but quickly comes to realize you girls don't have what it takes. Like
Yeah.
you're I gave you 5 minutes of my time, and I showed you the most minor exercises to like stretch yourself and to push yourself harder, and you all groaned the most minor of bits, and I didn't like that, so I'm not doing this anymore. And she storms off, and she runs into Nozomi in the hall, and the two of them have a confrontation where Ellie gets emotional and sort of has Nozomi tell her like, "Hey, it's okay to be who you want to be. It is okay to let down your guard sometimes, and like join forces with others and let others in." And Ellie goes off. She storms off again, and she goes to sit in the classroom by herself, and then is suddenly surrounded by all these girls
Where
who
did you come from?
they instant transmission into the room. Hanukkah snaps Ellie's neck and asserts
Yeah.
dominance. She extends her hand outwards and she says, "Hey, join us. Let's work together. You're in a bad spot and your heart's in the right place. But trust us to do this thing, and we trust you to work with us to do this thing together." And Ellie agrees to it. She says, "Okay, we'll do this together. We're going to save the school." And they're cheering, "Yay, now we have 8 members." And Nozomi's, you've got 9 members."
I've made everything happen the way I wanted to, Honoka.
It was her all along.
The puppet master.
Nozomi is the puppet master behind in the shadows, pulling the strings, making all of this align just as the stars predicted.
Yeah.
And she reveals that she was the one that put the Muse suggestion into the name box. And that's how we get the 9 girls. We finally have all 9 girls together, ready to take on the world, to do whatever possible, to really make it to Love Live. And then we get 2 filler episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, at the end of that episode, I was a teary mess. So by the time the filler episodes kicked in, it was kind of a whiplash for me, and I wasn't
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
Wait, what are the filler episodes?
Okay, so we get to episode 9. And episode 9 is one where
The Maid Cafe one.
the maid cafe episode.
Oh, that was a filler?
Yeah.
Yes.
more or less.
I mean,
It's
I guess
development
I
for
could see
it's
it that
development
way.
for Kotori.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's why I didn't think it was filler, because like Katori, like I guess for the first time since like the beginning of the show, had a time to shine and like
finally
wrote
gets to
a
do
song.
something.
Yeah.
We say that, but then
Wonder
Some
Zone
character
sucks. I'm
development.
gonna say it. That's
What?
my hot take. Wonder Zone sucks.
It's not my favorite song, but she
Wonder
wrote a
Zone was a
song.
good song. She did write a song. It wasn't good, but she definitely wrote. I guess that's more than I could say for myself.
I
But
mean,
I'm
she
Ayo.
tried.
I'm a critic, not a songwriter. But
Well.
um, but yeah, no, it is. I consider it filler. It is still a good episode, more or less. You do get some good interactions between the characters. We find out that Kotori has, for some time now, been hiding from the others. That she has been working in a maid cafe. She got pulled off the side of the street and asked, "Hey, do you want to be part of a maid cafe? You're so cute." And she's like, "No, no, I can't."
And then
But I
does.
can actually. Oh my god, I look so cute. Hey guys. But we find out that yeah, she's been like having a part-time job of working in a maid cafe, and she's gotten some notoriety for herself. She's become the legendary maid
Akibahara.
of
In a,
Akibahara.
in a matter of like months.
Yeah,
She's
in
that good.
while she's also been doing school stuff, while she's also been doing idol stuff. We get hinted at this earlier on whenever she sees her own autograph in Nico's idol worship room.
Yes.
But yeah, like we find out like, oh hey, there's this legendary maid Mina Linsky, and that's Kotori, and she's been doing this for a while, and she really likes it because it lets her be someone else. It lets her like be something that like do something that she's good at. She's good at
Mhm.
helping others, at serving others in this way, and she really likes it. She has fun with it. She loves this part of the city. She loves this. And the others are like really wowed by it. They do it themselves. Some of them don the maid outfits. I don't know who hired them or if they're being paid for this. Like,
Yeah.
or if
Yeah, that was
management
not
was just like,
explained.
if management's just like, yeah, okay, you all have no prior training to doing this job, but sure, you can work here for a night.
Which is why Umi did the smart thing and just stayed washing dishes. That requires zero skill set to do.
And as I brought up both on my own watch and while watching it with Annie and Will, they wear this maid outfit. And
Oh
then we
yeah.
see Umi go doing the dishes in the back. And even Hanukkah goes and does some dishes in the back. But they're expected to keep wearing this outfit after doing these dirty ass dishes. And I've worked in kitchens and in like dish pits like that. And then they're thought to just go back out and serve people still. Like y'all are
Gross.
gonna be stinking of like dirty water. Your hands are gonna be pruny. I'm just saying, like there's a certain like level of appearance you're meant to keep up there, obviously. And I don't
Right.
know if they're keeping it up there by having this sort of system in
No.
place.
And that's why Umi's smart and stayed washing dishes.
Yeah,
But yeah, we get some character development with Kotori, and she writes a song on her own. She writes about like how much she likes the city, and they perform it in what is notably called Arise's territory.
I'm just saying, if we had idol gang wars, that would have like
It would have been
cranked
way
it up
more
for
interesting.
That
me.
would have been
I'm
the
just saying.
start of it, yeah.
I wish that was a real thing.
Yakuza meets Love Live is the
Yeah.
next collab I need.
It would be just like West Side Story, you know, dancing around while
God.
twirling guns.
But it would
like,
make more
in the-
sense.
Kind of like the GIF with the Sound of Music with the guns.
God.
But also very briefly at the beginning of the episode, we also see that there's these idol pop-up shops that appear in the city, which seem to not have, which seem to sell merch based
They're
on
all
the
unofficial
appearance,
merch.
unofficial merch on the appearance of these characters. And similar, I guess, like if you think about conventions, and I guess you could say it's the same way of like how some people take like little pins and put character art on pins and sell them somewhere,
Yeah.
whether it's their own art or someone else's.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not getting or they're not getting any like royalties to sell this stuff here. Most
Right.
likely, it is theoretically illegal, but it's still being done. But these girls see like, oh wow, there's merch of us being sold here. That's amazing, and they're not worried that people are selling like. They
Yeah.
are all under
likeness.
the age of 18. They're having their likenesses sold to strangers that they only just now knew. I mean, Nico's floored. Nico's like, oh, where's my
Where's
merch?
mine?
I need to find my merch and buy
Yeah.
all my own merch.
It's
I've made it, Ma.
exposure.
it's exposure, but
Yeah.
it's still a little weird when you think of like, I if I was in their position, or Annie, let's put Annie on the spot here.
Yeah.
Annie is in a band with a mutual friend of ours, who will
Yes.
currently be unnamed.
Mhm.
We'll call him Q,
Uh-huh.
and they have a band called Calamancy. If you
Uh-huh.
and Q were just walking down the street one day and you went to like this music shop and you saw that they were selling Calamancy merch or something,
Yeah,
and you had
stickers,
yeah,
buttons.
stickers, buttons, whatever, and you had no idea that happening, wouldn't you be like, "What the fuck? This is
Yeah.
this is
Well,
fucked up."
I'd be a little flattered, but mostly like, yeah, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
at least let us know ahead of time.
Yeah.
But my main my main critique of this concept of like having a school idol like shop, merch shop, is that these girls are like people know them as school idols, so they know these girls are at school, so they know their identities and where they go to school, and like they're selling merch of them. So that's just multiple red flags and security issues
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
These girls aren't even like idols. They are
Right.
school
Yeah.
idols. They are underage. They still go to school. I mean,
Mhm.
they show off Arise's merch in here, and they mention a few others from other districts that don't really have names, but they exist. And everyone knows these people,
Mhm.
as like these famous school idols. That, oh yeah, I'm sure that after they graduate, they're probably going to go on to being actual idols. Like they're going to take the music industry by storm. Like, but currently they're all most likely. I mean, I can't really speak on anyone other than Muse. I don't really know Arise's whole deal yet, but as far as I know, as far as Muse's sake goes, they're all like self-produced, doing their own music, making up their own choreography. They're not going through any label. They're just uploading their music and videos online and having a good time and rising in these rankings. But yeah, like there's just merch of underage
Underage.
girls just out
It's
for the
chilling.
purchase of
Yeah.
sickos on the streets of Japan. This is a
Mhm.
call out post, actually.
Yeah.
This
In
is
the middle of
problematic,
Akihabara.
and I'm canceling this idle pop up shop.
Yeah.
But also, but also, I'm stopping by there to grab a few pins here and there before I
Mhm,
But
mhm.
like
cancel.
you said, they're underage students, so
Yeah,
it pretty much shows
Yeah.
that they didn't think of the consequences of
it's a
that.
little weird, but yeah, if I'll let it go this time. But they're on thin fucking ice,
Yeah.
and
Oh, they
also,
are.
and anyways, back on track. One more thing I guess I should mention is that they at the end of episode 8 they do a performance with all 9 girls, and they generate some audience members to this open field performance they're doing, and from there we sort of get told more or less like, hey, we saved the school, like there's like not exactly yet, but like that we're getting interest. We don't really do a lot more, we don't really focus in too hard about saving the school thing until like a few episodes later, but it's more or less saved now. We've done it. Congratulations, everybody. Um, but yeah, we finished the Minalinski stuff. Kotori gets her moment in the spotlight, and at the very last bit of the episode, we get a shot of Kotori sleeping in her bed as the morning mail comes and is delivered, and on it reads a letter to Kotori Minami, and it has a little
It's been
airplane.
flown in.
Yeah, it's been flown in. Obviously, this is something that they're setting up for something big that's about to happen. But no, next episode we're going to the beach. Beach,
Yeah.
let's go get away.
We have the
Um,
beach sleepover episode, which I have with 2 points that I brought up of Honoka pressuring her friends into doing things they don't want, part 84.
Part
Um,
84.
listen,
as
going
well
to the beach is a
as
Part
fun time.
84, volume 27,
yeah.
Volume 27,
Yeah.
Page, page
verse.
23.
page 636.
Followed also by Everyone Kicks Nico's Ass, part 84.
Just fucking
Get
goes
her ass.
in on her every chance they get. They're
Yeah.
never not going in. Nico has no character left. She's just a pile on the.
Yeah.
That was honestly my favorite part of the episode. I'm not gonna lie. Just every time she gets hit in the face with a pillow and KO'd.
Umi
Just
can
never
Umi can and
recover.
will kill without remorse. She's going to snipe you with an arrow. Like,
Umi is out for blood. Do not wake her up from her slumber.
yes.
No.
There is more than one demon within this group, and it is Umi.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get it. We get the usual for these sorts of shows, the training episode, and by that we mean they all take a nice vacation to the beach. Sometimes it's the mountains.
There
Sometimes
was
it's a camping
extremely
trip.
little training
Who
at this
knows?
training camp that they showed us.
Yeah, but it's implied.
It's implied, but like,
Sort of.
what I'll say is there are other idol animes I have watched with training camp episodes that do show training stuff taking
Training.
place. This one
Yeah.
did not at all.
This
Mm-mm.
one's just an excuse to have
A
the
beach
girls in
episode.
Filler.
bikinis and
Yeah.
having a sleepover and having fun, happy girl time before we get to the dramatics of the last few episodes.
Yeah.
It's character development.
Which we honestly needed. We needed that bit of fresh air before going in to take a
Mhm.
Yeah.
breath.
We
So
had a
I
whole
thank them
bunch
for
of
that.
we had a whole bunch of Ellie drama building up that finally reached its climax, and then we get to come down with Kotori filler / beach filler before we go right back into more drama, but with Kotori this time.
We very briefly get some character development for everyone. We get Ellie being the nice big sister type, total 180 of her character from how it was a
Yeah.
few episodes ago. And yeah, we get oh, Maki's rich. We get some
Oh, yeah.
inkling that Nico isn't.
Can
Nico
cook.
is surprised, shocked at like this life, this extravagant life. Nico's an
Yeah.
Mhm.
amazing cook, but before she was boasting, "Oh, I've also got my own personal chef that makes all my food for me."
I
Mhm,
guess
mhm.
that implies that she's lower income. I don't want to say poor, but
Well, you'll find out.
We'll get there in season 2.
Uh,
I know the idol secrets.
We get into a little bit of character development from characters here and there. Not too much, nothing amazing. Maki sort of learns to let her hair down a little bit
through Nozomi gaslighting.
through Nozomi gaslighting her. Gaslight, gatekeep,
uh,
girl boss, as
Yeah.
always. And yeah, we just have a nice fun episode. And it ends on the high note of all the girls staring out into the sunset together, holding hands, excited for what's to come.
Yeah.
And boy howdy, what is to come. We open up episode 11 with a quick recap of everything that's happened so far. Honoka is running to school, bread in her mouth, excited because they are about to do another performance soon at the school festival, and they are going to, like, everything is riding on this performance. As she says it, this is the performance that will pretty much make or break them getting to Love Live. They have
Yeah.
made it into the top 20 idols of Japan. I believe currently they were at number 19.
Yes, they are 19th out of the 20 places needed to get into Love Live.
And as long as they hold on to this spot, they are shoo-in for Love Live. But they should keep pushing forward because
Yeah.
obviously,
there's room for
It's good to have a
improvement.
buffer.
yeah,
So
you don't want to stop until you're number 1. But we sort of get like these moments of we get some funny moments of they need to find a place to perform for the upcoming school festival. They do a little quick roulette, and they put all the weight on Nico's shoulders because she's the class president.
And then gotcha
oh,
luck
she's the club
happens.
president. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the club president, and gotcha luck happens, and they have a bad roll on this like
Aw.
outdated, antiquated means of organizing school productions.
It was a lottery.
Yeah, there's a
that
lottery.
was the most dramatic. Just the music and the slow mo. It was
Snyder
brilliant.
cut slow mo.
Shut up.
Everyone's on the ground, and they're once again putting all the blame on Nico because how dare you? God damn it!
Idiot.
no.
It was just great. 15 out of 10. I laughed a lot.
They don't get the chance to perform in the auditorium, and they try to figure out, okay, where else can we perform? Well, we can't perform in the fields because we've got sports team, and we don't want to get in the way of that. We can't perform in the hallway because that's cramped. We can't perform in our club room because that's also cramped. Where else can we do it? And then they decide, here, we've been practicing on the roof this entire time. Let's perform on the roof.
Bad ideas 101.
Bad ideas 101.
What could go wrong?
I had other I had other thoughts on this one too. But yeah, like they say, let's just perform on the roof. We'll sing so loud that even if no one's at our show, they'll hear us throughout the school. And so Hanukkah also gives a big speech and is like, hey, let's do this, guys. We shouldn't stop until we get to the top, right? Like I'm gonna try my very best. I'm gonna work so hard to get us there. And don't you also want to get there too? And everyone's like, yes, we want to do this too. And Ellie brings up the point like, Hanukkah, you are our leader. You encourage us, and you are the heart of this entire group. You have to work twice as hard as everyone else. And Hanukkah takes that on her shoulders. Hanukkah, Hanukkah, it as is evidenced by the groans of my compatriots. Hanukkah listens to that very deeply. We see scenes of her working harder. She's pushing everyone else to go even further beyond. She's jogging on her own after she gets off school.
She overloads herself and to an extent the others
Yes.
with these efforts.
I mean, she tries to pull a Rocky training montage, except she doesn't
Yeah.
look as cool doing it.
No.
She's doing all the
Um,
wrong things, basically.
Yeah.
She's so excited. She's so excited that she tunnels. She tunnel visions so hard that even when Kotori, who is now seen having read the letter she received in the mail and having vague discussions of it with her mother, is noticeably sad. And Kotori wants to talk to Hanukkah about this. But Hanukah's so excited, so energized, so happy, ready to go, that she's unable to focus or pay attention to Kotori. And Kotori is also like, well, I can't tell her because if I tell her what happened now, I'm just going to ruin everything. This is before our big performance. I can't ruin this for Hanukkah, for everyone. So Kotori bundles up what she's received in the mail. And we get these few montages of everyone and even Umi being like, Hanukkah, maybe you should just take it easy a little bit. Like, it's important to work hard, but it's also important to take breaks and to understand your limits. And Hanukkah's like, no, 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 it's fine. I've got this. I'm so excited. I'm ready to go. And when Umi, the person who has been forcing everyone to work their asses off, tells you to maybe chill the fuck out, maybe you
Yeah.
should chill the fuck out a little bit.
You should
Hanukkah.
listen.
This.
Voice of reason.
But the day before the performance comes, and Hanukkah wants to go on one last run because she's got nerves. She wants to work a little bit hard, and it's pouring cats and dogs outside. And a rational person would be like, oh, it's fine. I'm not going to run outside. Or maybe I'll just jog in place or do some push-ups at home or
Mhm.
something. No, Hanukkah's like, I'm going to go do my usual running routine.
She goes YOLO and decides to run in the slippery rain.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she
And-
didn't like fall on the steps in the
Yeah,
rain.
for real.
I thought that was gonna happen.
Good for her for having like this much like dedication to this, but also
Girl.
you should maybe have some sort of like common sense. But yeah,
Mm.
she does this thing. We get Umi talking with Hanukkah on the phone about like, oh, haven't you noticed that Kotori's been a little distant? Hanukkah says, no, not really. And we then get a phone call between Umi and Kotori. And though we do not get the full discussion, I'll just go ahead and say we learned that Kotori has received an invitation from a famous designer, a famous fashion designer that lives in Paris, and has offered her the chance to come work under them, which has been Kotori's dream. She loves designing clothes. Her designs are amazing. She has really good like sense for fashion design, and she really is excited about this opportunity. Except she's also sad, of course, because this means I'm going to be leaving my friends behind. These are my
Mhm.
best friends. Even the people that I've just met in the past few months and gotten to be friends with, like there's love there. Like there is camaraderie. They're all a wonderful group together. And she's obviously saddened by it. So she's indecisive and she asks her mom, "Hey, what should I do?" And her mom says, "I can't make the decision for you. You have to make that yourself." Which yeah, that's true.
Thanks, Mom.
But that's all her mom says. Um
We see nothing else.
we see nothing else of her. And so Kotori's like really down on herself. And no one seems to notice this until she tells Umi, and then Umi gets really defensive about Kotori as well, but holds it back because this is Kotori's thing to tell the others, not
For now.
for now. But yeah, the day of the festival comes. Hanako is sick in bed. She's overslept. She stands up and gets ready and almost falls over because she's come down with a fever because she was running in the rain and pushing herself too hard.
I gotta say that I was amazed that her mom didn't really notice that she was sick.
Yeah,
Like
that
we know,
too.
like we know my mom. My mom is like on top of that shit. If she knows like something is wrong with me just by how I look, she would be like on top of me and would not want me to leave the house.
I
Mhm.
tell my mom like, oh yeah, my stomach was hurting today. Like I was feeling a little. Make sure you go to the store and buy yourself some like medicine, and also
Yeah.
make sure you only drink water and all blah blah blah. My mom is on my case if I mention the most minor
Mhm.
like
Yep, same.
anything like
Same.
this.
So I'm surprised that, Haniko's mom doesn't really do anything. But I don't
Yeah,
know if it's a culture thing or not. I have no idea.
maybe.
Maybe
Um,
it's an
but
anime
yeah,
mom stereotype, like, "Okay, honey."
Yeah.
it is more or less swept under the rug. Honoka goes to school that day. She's a little late. Everyone's in costume, ready to go. Honoka shows up, almost falls over on herself again. And everyone's like, Honoka, your voice, you're sick. Are you okay? Can you perform? And she's like, yeah, I can perform. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great.
I just need some cough drops and I'll be fine.
um, and no one's like, and no one possibly thinks, let's just perform. Let's perform without Honoka. Also, I'll mention it's raining now outside.
Yeah.
It is pouring cats and dogs. It is terrible weather outside, and they're still like, no, yeah, we're gonna perform on the rooftop.
Going back to what Tyler said, they have performed before with less members. Like they have performed with like 6, 7, 8.
But not since they become a full group, is the thing.
Yes.
But
Right.
I mean, what I mean is like they've shown the ability to do this. So I'm pretty sure like, realistically they could have been able to come up with something to make up the fact that one is missing, but for plot tension reasons they did not.
Right.
The other thing, though, with this that I brought up last night to Tyler was you all are a set thing now. This is not just 3 girls in an auditorium alone anymore. This is 9 girls who are the 19th most well-known school idols in the country.
Yeah.
And it is raining for an outdoor concert. You can say, hey, we're going to postpone this event. We're going to do this another day because conditions are bad. Or we're going to put this later on. We've got a gym auditorium, we've got a gym, we've got an auditorium, we've got all these other places to do this. You have the notoriety to say we're not doing this right now, but we're going to do it later. And people can. And again, it's not like anyone paid to go to this thing. It's not like you have to refund tickets.
Right.
No. I don't know. The whole group is carrying the idiot ball.
They're all sharing the same brain cell.
Yeah, for real.
There's a few other things like, yeah, you could say like, oh, why didn't they just do this? Like we see that they've got a stage set up now, and
Yeah.
there are people in the audience. Maybe 20 people have showed up.
Brave souls with their umbrellas where they could be struck by lightning at any time.
They've set up a stage, and it's a nice stage. It's nice, well put together. They're a decently sized school. I'm sure they could have gotten like some kind of like covering maybe
Yeah.
for like
Like,
this
yeah, like
steam.
like one of those like tarp tents. I don't know.
Yeah, like one of
Yeah.
those crawfish boil tents, you know?
Yeah. It'd be a bit cramped, but it would work.
Right.
This is like the school festival is, yeah, you want to do this during your school festival. You want to say like, this is people that want to come to the school, come look at our show. We want to this is what it's like to go to school here. We're cool. We have idols. That's awesome, right? Just ask everyone, hey, can we use the auditorium after school? Like after the school festival's over, we're just going to be using it for like 30 minutes to an hour to put on a show that we've worked hard for.
Yeah.
This isn't like I guess that would mean it technically isn't a school production, but I don't know. Like there could have been a workaround there, but there
I don't
isn't
know.
because it's more dramatic this way, and
Yeah.
that's how writing needs to be sometimes, obviously.
Yeah. Just abandon logic sometimes.
But they do that. They do the damn thing. They put on a show, and they put on a really good show. They don't slip. Well,
No Brand Girls slaps.
No Brain Girls is a very good song.
Somehow they don't slip.
I mean,
in the
as we
rain.
saw a few episodes ago, whenever they were playing in the rain, Reen can just do fucking flips and shit in the rain. Feral Cat Girl energy, go.
She has to be the real MVP of that performance for that reason alone.
They need to like start focusing on the fact that this girl could just do a flip out of nowhere.
Why is she not the center? She could be doing flips and stuff in the center.
Well,
No, there is no center.
realistically, So, damn it, you've activated something.
We've skipped over this one, but I'll let Will have the floor.
The whole thing on that thing is, obviously, the center is supposed to be the main girl of the idol group. But, as we had the whole episode, some of them are better at singing than others. Some of them are better at dancing than others. Some of them have a better stage presence than others. So they kind of juggle that position around. So that, okay, this song is going to be, like a Honoka center song. This song is going to be an Ellie center song. This one's going to be a Rin centered song. So they all have their centers to them, or sometimes certain songs don't have a center. And that's sort of where it's at.
Right. I'm just saying that if you're having a concert that is like wet and very precarious and slippery in the rain, Rin should be your center by default.
Well, unfortunately, I had to just check, actually. No Brand Girls is a Honoka Center song.
Yeah, it is a Honoka Center song, which is probably why they were like, well, we can't go on without Honoka. We've done all the choreography with Honoka as the center.
Because plot reasons.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, this is a very Honoka-centered song. They get through it, and it's a really good performance. But immediately, like, they finish the song.
Drop.
And just to say, this was meant to be a performance where they were meant to do like 5 songs, like all of the songs they've done so far.
Yeah.
It was a concert. Like, they were going to be up here for a while. But immediately, once No Brand Girls is done, Honoka drops like a sack of potatoes.
Oh my god, she fucking did.
She's delirious. She's saying, next song, we've gotta keep going. Everyone's freaking out. Her sister, who's in the audience, runs to her. Everyone's like, okay, we've got to get her inside. We've got to get her checked out. Like, we later find out the next episode that she sprained her ankle on the fall down. Somehow. I mean, she did crumple pretty hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Honoka's out for the count. And they're like, sorry, everyone. We've got to postpone and cancel this show because
the rest of this concert.
I mean, one of our members just fainted, and they're like, everyone's like looking at the audience and like, this is bad. And obviously it's bad, but they more so mean like there's like looks going on in the audience. Some of the audience members are just like
walk away.
They're like leaving like, oh well, they're not dancing and singing. I'm out of here. Like there's no concern for this girl that's dropped.
Like I said,
these
at
people
the
don't
beginning,
care.
Like I said at the beginning of this, they could just walk on and move on with their lives and not care if something bad happens.
It's amazing. It's so funny. But yeah, we get a sort of a time scale, like 2 days or like maybe a week, maybe 2 days. Honoka is recovering at home, and all the girls come to visit her. And we get like, okay, well, Honoka's feeling better now. Her mom's not worried at all. Her mom's like, yeah, Honoka's fine.
She got over it.
Her fever left her like 2 days ago, and now she's just recovering off her sprained ankle. And all the girls, except for the first years, who go wait outside the house for some reason.
Like an animal.
I guess because Honoka's room is small-ish.
Yeah. They can't let Rain in the house if she's not.
Yeah, she might bring in fleas or something.
It might be an honorific respect thing too, but I don't know.
They do it a few other times too, so it's probably like a underclassmen, upperclassmen that I don't fully understand, but
yeah, that's my guess.
Honoka's like, don't worry, I'm sorry that I messed up so bad, and everyone's like, don't worry, it's not your fault, it's all our faults. We didn't realize how hard you were pushing yourself, so we're to blame as well.
And this was when I began to start head desking.
Yeah.
Many times.
Honoka feels bad.
Will can testify to that.
Honoka feels bad. But everyone reassures her this is on all of us. And then Ellie breaks it to her, hey, we're not doing Love Live this year. Because the director spoke with me and said, and brought up a point that Ellie herself was bringing up early on. Thank you, Will, for pointing this out. That the director says, you girls are doing this. You should reevaluate why you girls are doing this whole idol thing, because you might be doing it for the wrong reason, and you might be pushing yourself more than you should. I'm shutting you down because you're a danger to yourselves and to others.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fair enough.
It's a very fair point. Honoka's heartbroken. She's like, I can't believe I've done this.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Me also having the note of Honoka, when will you learn that your actions have
Have
consequences?
consequences.
Honestly,
At this
it-
point,
this is the
never.
point. Well, this is the point, sort of, as we'll get into in like a hot second. But yeah, Hanukkah is heartbroken. Everyone's sad, but also everyone's like, well, I guess that's it. You're right. We're all to blame. Mostly Hanukkah, but we're all to blame.
Yeah.
Um, a time skip happens? Question mark. Like an episode ago, we were told Love Live is a month away,
Mhm.
and we get the moment we get Hanukkah better and out of bed, we briefly get a moment of her looking at the rankings and seeing that Muse is no longer on there and crying in bed to herself, like seeing like she is internalizing like I fucked up. And I think that's important. I think it is important that we
Yes.
see like Hanukkah does feel bad about it. Like this isn't
Yes.
like Hanukkah doesn't just believe like, oh yeah, it is all our faults. No, she does take some blame for that. She
Right.
understands this that
Mhm.
she fucked up and she has cost all the girls the chance at this amazing opportunity. But we get this like little time skip where we sort of see everyone sort of moves over. They're like, "Oh wow, yeah, I heard that there was an accident or something." Anyways, Arise won Love Live. That's awesome. Like,
Mm.
wow, their images of Muse are being replaced with images of Arise. Arise is the talk of the town. I guess Love Live happened and they've lost. And Hanukkah is going to school with Katori, and Hanukkah's just visibly sad. Like, yeah, I guess we fucked up. And that's when they weaponize Nozomi to cheer her to get her off of this funk by grabbing her titty again? I don't know. Um,
Is that
but
what happened?
yeah, they like Nico like Nozomi comes up behind Hanukkah, does the titty grab, and then Nico's like, Hanukkah, if you don't stop being such a sad piece of shit, we're gonna make Nozomi keep grabbing your tits.
It
Um,
works.
and
Leave
it
it to the
works.
upperclassmen to like whip you back
Yeah.
into reality.
We're weaponizing Nozomi.
Again,
Ayo.
it is another point of interest of like Hanukkah is visibly upset. She in a later scene she even says like, okay, we should take our performances slower. We should be careful. And she understands like, yeah, I pushed myself too hard. And that's a good moment of her recognizing her faults and wanting to overcome them. But also in this moment, while Hanukkah is visibly sad, and again, we don't know how much time has passed since we can only assume maybe a month or maybe a few weeks have passed since
A couple of
they
weeks at
were
least.
yeah, they were like kicked out of the running for Love Live. Ellie and Nico and Nozomi are just like, Hanukkah, stop being sad. Stop feeling bad about what happened. It's over now. Let's just move on. Let's not dwell on the past. And that's a very smart thing to say. Like, yes, it is bad to dwell, but from the audience's perspective, we don't really get the chance to see these girls grieve. Like, they're not really allowed to be sad
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
outside of the one moment of Hanukkah crying by herself. That's all we really get. Like, and then a few shots of like them being visibly down. They sort of
Mhm.
get over it pretty quickly. Like they understand, like, yeah, we're out of the running, but we're still together. We're still a group of friends, and we're still going to perform. There's always next year. But
Mhm.
we're not allowed to really see these girls grieve over the fact like all their hard work has more or less amounted to nothing.
I mean, yeah, they immediately jumped it through the stages right to acceptance.
Yeah. So I think that's a little bit of a writing thing that I had issue with. And thought was like, I don't know, like just let these girls be sad for a second.
Damn y'all, mental illness isn't real. Just be happy.
Make I want you to make me cry. I want you to make me cry over
Yeah.
these girls crying. They don't, but I don't know. I think the a few episodes ago when Ellie was having her moment, that was a much more emotional scene.
Yes.
But
That was the
Indeed.
one moment I cried, when she had her emotional moment with Nozomi.
it's a very hard hitting moment. It's very
Mhm.
Yeah.
real and
Getting
emotional.
it correct this time. A+ work, Erica Lindbeck.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, we get the fact like, oh hey, even though we've lost this chance, we're gonna keep going. We're Muse, and we're all nine of us have to be together. And as Nozomi states in my one of my least favorite lines, Muse is nine girls, never no more, no less. We can never be Muse without all nine of us. And they're all having a nice little party together. And Umi
Uh,
decides this is the perfect time to bring up the fact that Kotori has been hiding a secret from everyone, specifically Hanukkah. And instead of letting Kotori come to the decision on her own to tell Hanukkah, to finally make up her mind, Umi removes Kotori's agency and
Drops
just
a fucking bomb.
just drops
Yeah.
the bomb. She just says, "Hey, Kotori received this invitation to go to Paris and be a student of an amazing fashion designer, and she's going to be leaving in like a week or two." And everyone's like, "Oh no, this is what?
Dun dun
What?"
dun.
Like
Duh.
no one in the month. This has been a thing going for a month now.
Yeah.
No one has been able to tell that Kotori has been sad.
That in itself is sad.
Well, Umi did.
Umi had to be told. Umi had to be told.
Umi is the only girl who seems to be able to read body language and emotions out of all these other 8 little bitches. Like,
As
she's the
wise
only
as
true.
one.
Nozomi is, even Nozomi was like, Nozomi looks at Ellie and is like, "Did you know about this?" And Ellie's like, "No." None of these girls are like yeah, Kotori maybe isn't as close to all these other girls. We don't really see them.
Right.
We don't
Yeah.
really see her having any heart to hearts or like really good moments with anyone
Right.
outside of Umi and Honoka, mostly Honoka.
Mhm.
But yeah, Umi just sort of drops the bomb for Kotori, and she's sad. And she's sad, and Honoka is upset because Honoka's like, "You were hiding this from me? Why didn't you tell me? Umi, you knew this all along? Kotori, I'm your best friend. I thought you.
Abuse
Why didn't you tell me?"
101. Abuse 101.
It's not.
Right. But
It's a
then
very.
Kotori
It's a
was
pretty
like, I
bad
tried to
moment.
tell you so many times, but like I just couldn't. You wouldn't
Yeah.
like pay attention to me, la la la, and then runs out.
You were so focused on like the festival and Love Live that I didn't want to. I didn't want to break up your. I didn't want to break your heart and ruin all of this.
I didn't want to
Which
harsh her
is
vibes.
understandable, honestly. Like, if you have a goal and like you've been focusing on that, like get through that first and then go to the next objective. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense.
She thought like, "Oh hey, I don't want to ruin everyone's moods before this amazing moment." But then it just sort of drops here, and maybe this is the right place for it. But again, I do not like that Kotori's agency is just removed in pretty much every
Yes.
instance.
Yes.
As we'll see in this episode and the next.
Mhm.
There is a lot of agency removal throughout this show,
Yes.
honestly.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's a big issue.
yeah. Which I guess like we'll get to eventually with the character discussion. I don't know, but
I think so. It was a major factor in my decision making for my rankings is agency. So
but
Mm.
I mean, like, I will give points to Katori for her like trying to attempt multiple times, and sometimes when you try to tell people something that is important, like it is difficult to bring up that inner strength and to move forward with it. Like sometimes you do falter, so like I can't I can't say I 100% blame her for it.
Mhm.
Because sometimes you do need that little bit of help from a second person, and Umi saw that this was tearing up Kotori inside.
Mhm.
So,
I
like,
get that.
I get it, but I get it to a degree.
There's better ways to handle it, I guess, is the thing.
I think what I would have
Yeah.
preferred
Yeah,
is Umi like nudging her forward, like
Right.
Kotori,
And not like doing it for her.
like
yeah,
Yeah.
please tell can you tell everyone what happened and encouraging her, letting
yeah.
Mhm.
giving rise to her voice, but not removing her voice.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I thought she did at one scene, like when she was trying to tell her outside the school, but she faltered, and then they went to sit down at the bench.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Did you tell them?" She was like, "Did you tell them?" Like encouraging to tell them, and she was like, "No." So I really do
Mm.
think Umi did try to push, but Katori wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kotori tells Honoka, "Yes, I was trying to tell you, but you were so honed in on this like accomplishing this goal, and I didn't want to break your heart and ruin this for you." And Kotori's breaking down in this moment. She's crying. And again, I watched it. This was something I brought up to Will last night whenever we had a quick discussion about it. But I watched the dub with Annie and Will, and I watched the sub on my own on my rewatch. Christina V is a good voice actress.
Yes.
I do not want to say that I think she is a bad voice actress at all. I don't really like her voice as Kotori, and she matches the pitch of Kotori's original like Japanese voice actress as well.
Yes.
Kotori's Japanese voice actress has that high pitched voice, but the scene from Christina V's point of view is kind of less impactful for me. Like I even compared the two side by side on my rewatch last night, and I think that one, the wording is slightly different, and it's maybe not the most impactful thing, but the wording of it in Japanese, in English, I'll say, is Kotori tells Honoka, "Of course, I wanted to tell you. You're my best friend. I wanted to seek your advice, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you." But in Japanese, we get a very slight difference, but I feel like it's more impactful of Kotori saying, "I wanted to I wanted your advice, and of course I wanted to tell you, you were my first friend, Honoka." Um,
Oh.
like
Oh,
I feel
wow.
like that's a pretty big difference of like, and yeah, it's sort of hinted at, like but we don't get to see that. We never get a young child just Honoka and Kotori scene at this
Mhm.
point in time.
Except that little flashback with Umi.
With
But
Umi,
even then,
yeah.
that's with Umi. I wanted,
Yeah.
like, for as much weight as Kotori is taking on, like, I can see from Kotori's perspective, Honoka was her first friend. Like, this is like Umi's also her best friend, but Honoka was the first person in her life that she like looked up to, and like the two of them were close. But we don't really
That's
see
so
that.
sad.
Dang.
So yeah, like she says, "You were my first friend, Honoka. Of course I wanted to tell you, but I couldn't." And then she runs out of the room because she's crying and she doesn't want to see everyone like this, and
Breakdown.
Yeah.
Breakdown.
or she doesn't want everyone to see her like this. And Honoka's like, "Oh shit."
Oh, shit.
It was at that moment she knew she fucked up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do wish I watched it in Japanese now, for real.
There's some minor differences here and there, like in some, like, again, I want to say the dub is really good. The dub is fantastic, but it is always a translation and localization issue to like Japanese to
Mhm.
English. Like it's always going to happen. There are worse versions of this that I refuse to bring up now because this is not the podcast for that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but
another podcast.
that's another podcast, and we're coming 2022. Um, but Hanuka couldn't see past her own vision, and Kotori couldn't bring herself to tell her. And so Kotori runs away. Hanuka internalizes all of this really hard. Um, and we're sort of left with the scene of like, okay, well, Kotori is leaving. Hanuka has decided, I can't do this anymore. I'm quitting being an idol. And everyone's like, oh, no. In the episode 13, let's go. Final episode.
I want to do one last little bit there.
Yeah, of course.
That's the thing that also kind of frustrates me is, okay, Honoka, like, you go from, okay, my best friend's leaving. This sucks. I'm losing my best friend, my first friend. And everyone around her is like, yeah, this does suck, but let's give her a send off. Let's give her some support, because even though we're losing someone who important to us, we still want to support her. And Honoka does this weird thing of, what's the point of being an idol, you guys? What's
Yeah,
the
what's
point
the
of
fucking point?
she's sitting around not looking at like photo albums or videos or pictures of her and Kotori as kids or growing up. She's looking at Arise videos and being
The
like,
one song that they know how to perform.
yeah, that's all they need to do. She's looking at those videos, being like, "Gosh, this was stupid of me. Why'd I even do this? What's the point of being an idol?" And it's like, where's this coming from? What? Where is any of that coming from?
It is such a twisted version of her character,
Yeah,
leading up to the scene of like them on the roof encouraging, like, yeah, let's send her off, like, one last performance. This is what she deserves. To Honoka being like, well, no, I can't do this anymore. We are never going to amount to what the other idols are. We could
yeah.
never be that. We're just fooling ourselves, and I quit being an idol. And
I quit. Yeah, fucking
Nico rounds in on
Nico.
her. Like, Nico's like, I put all of myself into this. I put every stake I had into this project. This is my dream, and you're just
Yeah.
backing out of it. Like, I gave everyone the benefit of the doubt that we could do this, and Maki's holding her back, like, no, you can't
Yeah.
throw hands with this girl.
And,
Don't
and
do it.
Ellie jumps in on her too. Like, it's extremely selfish of you, Honoka, to think that
No. How
because
arrogant
you,
of you.
yes, how arrogant that you as this one person get to have a voice above the rest of us and what we want to do for her. Like you don't have the monopoly on Kotori.
Yeah.
Right.
But they let it happen.
So much so that Honoka starts to storm off. She's grabbed, and again, this is a very important end of the episode. She's grabbed by the arm by Umi, her other best friend, someone else who is also obviously Kotori's best friend. And Umi stops Honoka in her tracks, turns her around, and slaps the shit out of her.
God bless. God bless.
Almost forgot about that.
And it was the most amazing moment.
It was so cathartic.
It was.
We get an off-screen sound of a slap, and we get the pan down to see the red the red handprint mark cheek, and Umi being like, "So this is who you really are."
That was such a raw delivery too. Just
Yeah,
like I
it's
see you for the
strong.
person you really are now.
Yeah, it's a really good moment. I did write down like I get where you're coming from. This is a very emotional moment. Umi, this feels like a bad time to do this. But at the end of the day, I think a big part of this is that it doesn't always come through with this, but I think this really exemplifies the fact like these are high school students. These are young
Yeah.
girls.
Yes, emotions
Very
are high.
emotional.
They're mature in their own right to some degree, but they are still very young, like 15 to 17 years old.
Hmm.
And yeah, emotions run high. This felt like a very real moment in some kind of high school drama.
Yes.
And it is a good final moment of the episode of the end of episode 12 before we immediately go into the happy singing, I believe,
Yeah.
version of the ending theme, which is very funny. But no, we jump into episode
Whiplash
13.
galore.
Whiplash galore. It's humorous to a degree. And we jump into episode 13. And yeah, we sort of get this fragmented group. Everyone's like, well, that's it. Muse is on hiatus. Muse is disbanded for now.
Oh, Annie, I have a question.
Yes.
What were you doing at this point? Because at this point, I was angrily shoving ice cream in my mouth, trying
Funny
to
enough,
muffle my screams of rage.
I was also eating ice cream while watching.
She was also eating ice cream at that moment.
but more casually, like that was
Yeah.
my popcorn. Like, okay, let's hop on this ride. All right.
Amazing.
Got my ice
So we were telepathically connected.
Yeah.
And he's rubbing her
shared in the
little
experience.
goblin hands together, like, I can't wait to go on, fight more. But yeah, we get this fragmented look. Umi, not Umi, sorry. Umi has gone back to the archery club. She's upset. Honoka is hanging out with the peanut gallery now, who are trying to cheer her up now that Kotori's leaving.
Yeah. Doing karaoke, DDR.
Ellie and
shopping.
Nozumi are around, I guess.
They're doing
And-
student council things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're doing student council things. They're falling back into their old selves, of course. And meanwhile, Nico has rounded on at least Hanayo and Rin,
Yeah.
who haven't really done much this season, of course, and we haven't really talked about them that much because they are sort of there.
Yeah.
But she rounds on them and says, "Hey, just because they're done being idols doesn't mean I am. This is what I want to do. This is my
Yes.
dream."
Which, honestly, good for her and good for
Yeah.
them.
It's a really
Right.
cool moment. Like this is like Nico being like, I don't care. I don't care that Muse is disbanded or on hiatus. I'm gonna keep doing this because this is what I've always wanted to do, even if I've kept that locked away in myself and kept in my idol research room. But Hanayo and Rin are like, yeah, let's do this. I still want to do that. I still want to be an idol together. And Rin loves her girlfriend Hanayo,
Yes.
so of course
They are
she's going to stay
married.
together. But yeah, the three of them are we see later are still training. They're still doing the usual training steps to doing the whole idol stuff. Hanukkah has PTSD while playing DDR.
I literally had Honoka suffers idol PTSD.
Yeah.
There-
She
there was-
remembers everything that happens.
There was also just a very golden moment to me of when everyone's sort of doing their own thing and figuring stuff out. And like we said, Umi being in her archery club, just the direct bullseye shot right into the opening theme. I'm just like, Umi's
Yep.
going to kill Honoka for
Umi's
real this
going
time.
to snipe Honoka out.
I honestly didn't think of that. That's amazing.
I wouldn't be
We get this
surprised.
fragmented look, and it's a nice reminder of like, oh, how far we've come, but also where we were at the beginning of the show. Honoko runs into
Where we were, I would say that they've regressed even further.
They have, but it's sort of, I mean, some of them have, but then leads into like Hanako runs into Hanyo and Rain, who are still doing the training, and they say like, hey, Nico reiterates, we still want to become idols. Like this is more than just this was more than just saving the school. They wanted to save the school too, but this is what they wanted to do. Like this is what they wanted to do their entire lives. And they're like, we're gonna put on a show for Kotori because we want to give her a send off. And they're like, we hope you come too. And Nico's like, no, you were part of this. You're coming. Sorry, Hanukkah. You don't get a choice in this matter.
Immediately
Hanukkah laughs
take
it off.
command.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hanukkah laughs it off, of course. She's like, of course I'll come. And yeah, we sort of get a bad moment, actually, of Kotori and her mom at the airport. Kotori is about to leave. I guess we've
Oh,
now skipped ahead to
Lord.
that.
Yeah,
We've
that
skipped ahead to that
montage.
moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually there was an in-between thing there
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
Ellie comes to talk to Honoka and basically be like, "Hey, let's figure this out and everything. Let's figure out your feelings. I have spent so many years being closed in on myself, not being open with myself. And you need to just do that, Honoka. You need to be open with your feelings and understand, accept, da da da." And I have a note where I basically said, Ellie, it is one thing to be open with your feelings. It is another to not be in control of those feelings and be immature about it. And that's the thing with Honoka is she just lets it all out and doesn't think about what will
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah.
And there's a big distinction
I would
there.
say she didn't repress them. She let them out flying.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that that's all Honoka does is she's on all the time. She lets it out without thinking, and she says so even at a
Yeah.
later point.
Mhm.
Don't really have any tact.
Yeah.
No, she follows the whims of her emotions a lot too.
Yes.
And just kind of like throws them on everyone else.
Mhm.
Yeah. But she's like, I still want to perform with Muse later on with Umi talking with her. And I'm just like, girl, join a glee club and stop dragging these people through your shit. Like, because that's
This.
all you've been doing.
This.
Honestly.
Pretty much. Master manipulator.
Yes.
Yeah, we get that scene between them, and again, we go back to Kotori's mom is dropping her off at the and the most upsetting scene for me, where these two characters are not. If this was an actual live action TV show, Kotori's mom and Kotori have no chemistry. It's like it's like you popped her out and you were like, she exists now, I guess.
I've created a child.
I mean, I guess her like real life family relationship is with her dad, who we never see.
Yeah.
Who knows? He might be dead. I don't know.
You know, I chalked it up to the typical like Japanese culture of parents being a bit emotionally distant with their children, and like they're just very formal, and like it's no hard feelings, but like they're just very like formal and like to the point with their kids, and like there's not like to us like it just comes off as cold, and so I chalked it up to that. But like nevertheless, yeah, it was super cold for a mom and daughter relationship for sure.
Yeah.
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 I get that point of it, and again, it's a bit of a culture difference.
Mhm.
Again, we are seeing things through a Western perspective.
Yes.
Like that is how we experience this show.
Compared to like other parent relationships I've seen, though, this is not the coldest I've seen.
Yeah, they're not terrible.
Like, I mean, at least like there's like respect there, so that's something.
It's lukewarm.
Yeah.
It's very
All I
dead.
really wanted was like a moment of like, I don't know, Kotori rushing back to hug her mom,
Yeah.
or her mom just says like, take care of yourself. She doesn't say,
Yeah.
I love you, I'm gonna miss you. Like they don't have a
Yeah.
hug with each other.
It's sad because you see like the little bit of emoting from Kotori's side. Like she looks like she's
Yeah.
about to cry, but then
Right.
she quickly composes herself because maybe she was raised to show that it was not appropriate. Who knows?
A lot of emotional repression.
Again, it's such a minor thing, but it was also one of those moments of like, it's one of those things of, if I was directing this,
Yeah.
I would have some kind of moment between these two.
Yeah,
Mhm.
agreed.
But yeah, Kotori is at the airport, and we get Honoka having resolved herself, standing in the middle of the auditorium where they performed the first show together. And Honoka, who has been standing here for 3 hours, Umi walks in, sees her,
Why
and
are
is
you
like,
here?
"Yeah, why are you here?"
The question of the hour.
Honoka's like, I'm sorry I've always made trouble for you. And Umi's like, haha, it's fine. You've always been a troublesome person, but we are still friends, and everyone loves you, and you shouldn't stay here anymore because you've got to go to Kotori. And Honoka's like, what do you mean? And Umi says a line of like, a famous fashion designer found Kotori, but Kotori wants you to go there and stop her from going because Kotori wants to stay here, but she couldn't make up her mind, and she wants you to tell her to. You are the only one, Hanukkah, who can get Kotori to stay here. And Hanukkah's like, okay. And for a brief moment before that, Umi bursts into song in the most maybe musical moment of the entire show,
Right.
where Umi starts singing the original, the not the opening song, but the first song that the three of them sing together at the end of the first episode. Hanukkah joins in, and at the airport, Kotori also joins in.
It's Love Live, the musical.
It's Love Live the musical on ice.
It's a nice touch, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a very cute moment. And then
Mhm.
Umi's like, go to her. In the most romantic moment of the show, I guess, if this were
Exactly.
if this were a
The
rom-com.
ultra gay
This is
moment.
like
Right.
a teen drama. Yeah.
Yeah, Umi's like, go to her, Hanukkah. And Hanukkah rushes out of the school and gets to Kotori, who's about to get up and go, I guess, to the terminal. She sort of was in the terminal area to begin with. I don't know how Hanukkah got past
Security.
security.
Slash the gate.
Yeah, I don't know how she got in there, but she gets to Kotori, and before Kotori can even take a step, grabs her arm, twirls her around, and kisses her right on the lip.
Yeah.
No, she says, Kotori, I want you to stay. I'm sorry for what happened. Please don't go. And Kotori's like, I'm not gonna go. I knew what I really wanted, but I couldn't make up my mind. So I'll stay here with you, Hanukkah. And then we cut back to all 7 other girls in their school uniform behind the stage of the auditorium, like just waiting, like they're gonna do a performance now that I guess was not really set up ever. Like this wasn't really alluded to, but they're like, what if Hanukkah doesn't get to Kotori in time? What if she doesn't get back here? And some
Oh.
of them are like, don't worry, it'll happen.
I think it was like a performance after their closing ceremony because it was the end of the spring term or something like that before summer.
I don't remember them building up to this, but again, maybe I was
Mm-mm.
just upset at the time.
Yeah.
I might
I
have
mean,
been
I
angry
don't
typing.
either, to be fair. Maybe it was like their concert having been rescheduled. I don't know.
Maybe.
But Hanukkah bursts in on the scene and falls on her ass, sort of, and we get a shot of her rubbing her ass because we're back to comedics again.
Yeah.
They're like, Hanukkah, you're here, but what about Kotor? And they turn and see Kotori standing in the doorway now in her school uniform.
Yeah.
I guess she stopped at home to grab her school uniform, or she just had it in her luggage.
Maybe.
I don't know why she brought
Maybe.
that with her.
Maybe.
She did a quick Wonder Woman spin.
Yeah.
Change clothes.
She's in her school uniform now, and they're all 9 together. And they get Nico to hype them up, and they do a little pose, and they all stand together to perform one last time, or the first time as all 9 girls start Dash for an audience full of people
Yes.
Yeah.
that have gathered, from family members to all the other school members. You see Kotori's mom with a knowing smile on her face, like she thought, like, oh, I knew this was going to happen all along.
She probably did.
Okay, Mom.
Maybe.
Tori's mom never paid for that plane ticket. She was just waiting.
Kotori's mom was like, God, I hope Hanukkah gets there in time.
She very well could have. Like, we don't know.
We get a brief moment of Maki's mom coming into the to the auditorium, and the brief like shot of Kotori's mom and Maki's mom looking as if they know each other, leading up to something, I'm imagining,
Recognition.
in the future.
Yeah.
Which I want to know more about, honestly.
But yeah, we get all 9 girls performing Start Dash together, and it's a good wholesome moment. And Hanukkah gives a speech like, I knew one day, I said one day I would sing to this auditorium filled with people, and I'm glad everyone could be here with me today. All my friends could perform here today with me. And this is just the beginning of Muse. And we get a shot of Muse music start as they are entered once again into the ranking for Love
Yeah.
Live.
Yay.
And that's the ending of season 1. That took a while. That took a lot longer than I thought it would. But
Yeah.
we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
My only little final note on that one was just Honoka also stating, "I'm still gonna cause problems.
I'm gonna fuck up.
I'm going
Wait,
to cause
what?
problems on well, not literally that, but
Not
she
yeah,
basically is
but
like, I'm still gonna be I'm probably gonna be selfish and do stupid things and everything like that, but I want you here with me. I want
Mhm.
Oh
you to be there and
God.
be a part of this." And I literally just said, it's like, you're really gonna drag her ass back home and continue causing problems on purpose because you demand everyone follows your whims.
Pretty
Cool.
much. Pretty much.
And
Wow.
that's what's so frustrating about that.
I honestly forgot about that, but thank you for the reminder.
but that pretty much sums up the first season of the show.
Yeah.
We had a
Mhm.
lot more beats towards the end because there's a lot to digest there. There's a lot of
Right.
drama that happens here, and good. I like drama in these shows.
Yeah.
I like whenever there's like stupid drama in the fun, happy idol show.
Mhm.
And in terms of character development, there's some good moments. There's some bad moments.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a lot of, and I want to mostly focusing in on the final 2 episodes. We'll try to keep it as brief as we can before we can get into the rankings that we're going to do in a sec. But I I don't think this is a bad thing. I don't think Hanukkah going to bring Kotori back is bad. My problem with the ending, as I said to Annie and Will on at the ending of our watch together, was I wish they'd handled it better.
Mhm.
A lot of things a lot of things feel rushed. A lot of things just happen very quickly. Hanukkah darts out of the school. 5 seconds later, she's at the airport pulling Kotori back. What I wish they would have done with this scene is that maybe we get a shot of like Hanukkah, like we even have that first song playing in the background as this is going on, and it's nice. I wish we would have gotten a scene of Hanukkah running through the street towards the airport, like getting there as fast as she can, on the way, running into the other idols, like in passing. They push her along or encourage her to keep going. And we see all of them sort of like doing this working together, this encouraging moment. Like Hanukkah, who has been the encouraging person for most of the show,
Right.
being encouraged now to go bring Kotori back because that's what everyone wants.
Mhm.
And then when she gets to the airport, you get the rom-com angle of the plane is already a plane is taking off, and she can't find Kotori, and she thinks, "Oh no, maybe I didn't make it in time."
I'm too late.
Yeah.
And then you hear off screen, or you get a pan, like Kotori saying Hanukkah's name, being like,
What are you doing here?
"Hanukkah, you're here. Yeah, what are you doing here?" And then the two get this reuniting moment of Hanukkah pouring her heart out, like, "I'm sorry for what I've done. I'm sorry for how I acted. I'm sorry I didn't recognize the pain you were in because of my own selfishness." And Kotori being like, "It's fine. I'm glad you're here. I couldn't get on the plane because I wanted to stay. I don't want to go. I want to be here with you and with everyone." Because then that would give Kotori the agency that she's been missing this entire time
Mhm.
Yep.
because she couldn't make up her own
Mhm.
mind. Like,
Mhm.
give
Mhm.
Kotori the chance to like, yeah, see, like that's the thing though, right? Like, give Kotori the chance to accept that I want to stay. I don't want to go.
Right.
This is my dream. I would love to be a designer. I want to be a fashion designer, and maybe one day I will. But right now, I want to be with my friends in high school, doing the thing that we started doing months ago, that I love
Mhm.
doing, and that brought me and these other girls together. I think that would have been such a more like wholesome, like heartwarming moment, and especially like an exemplary moment of like Kotori taking agency for herself.
Yes.
But we don't get that. We get Hanukkah going to her, pulling her back as if Kotori doesn't have agency, that she has to be told, "You want to stay here. I want you to stay here."
Mhm.
And Kotori just being like, "Yeah, I
Okay.
do." And then
Okay.
that's it. And that's just it.
It's really interesting to see like how different character interpretations differ. Because from what I got from that was that, she was torn, like she wanted to stay, but she also wanted to go to this opportunity in Paris. Like, there was a bittersweet feeling
I think
to
she did.
it.
Like, she says this is her dream. Like, this is what she's
Like,
always wanted.
so she, like, made the decision, like, "Okay, I'm going to do this." It was a very difficult decision, but Imma do it. But then Hanukkah robbed it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of interpretations here, and it's really good, but it just feels lackluster. It feels rushed towards an ending that we know has to happen. And you could say maybe this, like, obviously they can only do so much in 22 minutes of an anime, but there are probably scenes in this episode that could have been taken out, I'm sure. I don't know. Yeah, that was my whole issue with the ending there. Like, I wish it just, like, it is a good moment. I like that Hanako ran to get her friend back. I just don't like the end product or how it happened. I think that could have definitely been changed to maybe make it to where people learn lessons better and people are given the right to speak up on their own terms instead of having their voice taken from them, more or less. But that is my hot take, my ranting on
Yes.
the final episodes. Do any of you also want to chip in with how you felt?
I mean, I felt nothing but rage, and I finished with rage.
Same.
Um,
I
I
was
With
pretty
those
mad.
2 episodes, I was pretty furious.
I do have a thought in
Mhm.
regards to how like Hanukkah was being selfish and like put Muse on hiatus, and when she like decided to quit and became like disenchanted with the whole idol thing instead of, being upset about being a shitty friend. But I think it's still tied to that thought in a way, in a very kind of roundabout way. Because maybe she was disenchanted with the whole idol thing because um, her idol dream got in the way of being the friend that Kotori needed at that time.
Mhm.
And so maybe that's why she just went into that depression
Yeah,
angst
I mean, she had, like, a mental blue screen of death, I guess.
in a way, yeah. So like what's the
Like,
point of this
nothing
idol
else
dream?
computed.
Yeah, like what's the point of being an idol if I can't have my best friend?
And that's fine, and I get that, but I think there's
Uh-huh.
also just the perspective. It felt like it wasn't for that reason almost, and that it was
Yeah.
more
Right, like
selfish
that was my
about it.
interpretation of it, but it was just such a hard pivot. And
Yeah.
that's how I had to interpret it in order to rationalize the hard pivot.
We are here hoping that Honeka's not that bad, but she might be, but we don't want her to be.
We make a lot of jokes about, oh, Hanukkah's manipulative, Hanukkah's abusive.
Yeah.
And
I
honestly,
mean, except
there's some
me. When
pretty
I
bad
say
moments.
it, I'm genuinely
No, I know
serious.
you're no. It comes from a place of joking for some, but also there's a lot of genuineness to it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even Umi says it during like the when they're in the auditorium in the last episode. It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
like you really like strung us along and like kind of manipulated us into your schemes. But I'm so thankful you did.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be manipulated.
Yeah, I don't know how much to drop in this, but I
Mhm.
guess this ties into my character interpretation
Into your rankings.
or rankings a lot.
So,
Oh.
unless anyone else has anything they want to say on like the season as a whole, I guess we can take a quick break and then come back for the rankings real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any last notes before we move on?
I think I kind of went through all of my issues with this season.
We've got a lot more
Um,
notes to go over when it comes to character specific.
yeah, and that's the thing
Yeah.
is I think that's going to tie into those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like mine is more character specifics
Yes.
because
Same.
in terms of overarching plot, like I said, it was just building a foundation for season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So also, like, for other people who don't know me, the way I was introduced through anime was from Dragon Ball Z, and then later Powerpuff Girls Z, and then later Tokyo Ghoul.
Oh
So
wow.
I was more like my first
You had a lot
dip
of
into
action stuff
anime.
going
Yeah,
on.
I was more like actiony.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, for a more slice of life anime, it's harder for me to say that there's a plot. Not to say it doesn't exist, but it's more
It's not as
character driven than
clear.
anything else. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not as clear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my comments are more character
Mm-hmm.
focused.
I will say real quick, to touch back on the differences between sub and dub. because in the Japanese version that Katori says like, "Oh, Hanuka, like you're my first friend." I guess that would explain more why Umi says like, "Hey, like you are the only one who can convince Katori to like stay because like you're her first friend." Perhaps. But then again, like I shouldn't have to be reaching for these things as an audience member.
Yeah. Maybe Hanuka should just be a better friend.
Yeah. Stop being manipulative.
This is why you have to be a good friend, and if you're a bad friend ever, we're coming for you. Call out post.
And if you do end up being in a friendship like that, cut out those toxic ties immediately.
Cut that shit out.
This has been a PSA.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. But yeah, we're gonna take a quick break and then come back and talk about
All
our
right.
Awesome.
Okay.